Welcome back to Splunk training. So in this session, we are going to discuss about universal forward setup. So in our previous session, we discussed about different Splunk components. So where we have discussed searches, indexers, universal forwarders, and deployers, cluster managers, license masters, and deployment server. And we have seen a sequence of each component. Just for our practice purpose, in this session, I'm going to set up a Splunk environment which has a search, indexer, and universal forwarder. The purpose of having universal forwarder is to forward the data or to read the data from a particular application, and it should forward to indexer. And this particular indexer will have to connect with the search so that whenever end user uses the search and you query something, then that particular data should be available within the indexer with the help of universal forwarder in that particular application. Okay? So this is something called as one-tier architecture in Splunk. So typically we don't recommend this kind of setup in real time, but yes, for our practice purpose, we need to have this setup instead of having multiple system or multiple computers. But typically, of course, this is also not good practice one because we need to have a multi-site indexer clustering and subset clustering. So as of now, uh, we are just for understanding, we just on this particular diagram. And for now, just to set up this environment, just for our for our upcoming sessions, we need to have universal powders, indexers, and that needs to be set up. Okay. Now we'll go by one by one. First of all, let me try to understand how to set up a search head. By default, all the Splunk instance by default it will have search head capability. So I don't really need to set up anything, right? So by default, each and every Splunk installations will have the capability of search head. Okay. Now, but still we have something called as distributed search. Why do we have this option? We'll see. By default, see, if you just click on a distributed search setup, by default, Splunk is giving an option of distributed search setup as enabled. So we don't have to worry about to set up a search part. Okay, and also here we are saying distributed search is enabled so that multiple searches can be availed with the help of this setup. So just click on search. And we have one more option called search peer under distributed search. This is very much important. Okay. See, in this case, in our multi-tier architecture, we are having in this example we are having three indexes, which means each and every search head should have access to these three indexes. Correct? So if that is the case, right, you need to click, select this option search peer. Search peer refers to your indexer peer. Click on new search peer. Okay. See, here basically we are trying to add the details of the indexer. So if you have three indexes, I need to have three indexer details here. So I'll just give HTTPS and I'll give my IP address of my indexer, and this is the management port which I'm supposed to give. So with this port, our indexer, I mean the search head will communicate to our indexer, right? And give your username and password and click on, right? So this is how you are going to mention your indexer details on search head. As of now, in our case, it is not needed because we are just going with this architecture. So we are querying our indexers in the same computer. Also, we are configuring our search on the same computer. Hence, this step is not needed. But in your real-time scenario, you are supposed to configure this search peer under distributed search. So here, as I mentioned, in the peer URI, you should give your indexer URL or indexer IP address along with your management port and give your indexer username and password, right? So this is how we are going to set up our search head in real time. Okay. Now search head part is done. Now how to make a Splunk instance as a indexer. As I mentioned, Splunk Indexer will receive the information over the port 9997. Right? How to do that? Click on settings and click on forwarding and receiving. And Splunk, we are configuring the indexer, which means indexer job is to receive the data. And for forwarding, we will see in upcoming sessions. As we are receiving the data, then we should configure receiving. Click here. Now click on new receiving port. So here we are saying I will act as the indexer provided I'm only listening the port called 9997. This can be customized, but this is the default official port which is given by Splunk. We can always give this. If you want, we can also change it later. Okay. So as of now, I'm just going with the default one, 9997. Now I just clicking on save. Now with this setting, right? What I did, I just get into settings, clicked on forwarding and receiving, and afterwards clicked on configure receiving. Then I just clicked on new receiving port and I had given 9997 as a indexing port. So once I give that, now with this setting, this particular machine is acting as a indexer. And with these settings, whatever the distributed search setting which we have done, with this it is also acting as a search set. Now this particular machine is able to search, and this machine is also able to communicate with the indexer with the port 9997. So now this part is done. Okay. Now let us try to create one index. How to create an index in an index, because this is my indexer, correct? So because I've just configured 9997 port on this machine, so this is my indexer. I can call this machine as a indexer. Now how to create an index? I was saying, right? So whenever we are creating any data, right? Whenever we are creating any data on some indexer, so it is always recommendable to uh, give a unique or to create a unique index. So index is nothing but it's a separate folder within the indexer, correct? Okay. Now how to create that index? So I'm on indexer machine. Now I'm just clicking on indexes. Okay. Now these are all the default indexes which are available in an indexer. We will see each and every index's importance and significance in detail in our upcoming sessions. So, but for now, we have 12 default indexes available. Okay, and definitely for your certification, you need to have detailed knowledge on these indexes. So definitely, I'll be covering it in one of the videos. Okay, so how to create a new index? So just as I mentioned, come to settings, click on indexes, and afterwards click on new index. Now, let's say I'll just say I want to store the data of my application server. I'll just say app server index. So my index name will be app SRV. This is my index. Let us not worry about all these options. Just go ahead with the default thing and click on set. But let me try to give little insight on this. What is the maximum size of entire index, which means how much data it can accommodate uh, for this particular index. So here by default it is giving 500, but again it can be customized. Right? For now, I'm just going with the default options. When we learn data aging and when we have detailed discussions about indexing, we'll look into all these options. All right. So how to create an index? Just click on new index and give index name, click on check. In backend, there will be one folder gets created. We will see them little later. So this is my index, the new index which I have created. So how to create an index? Come to settings, click on indexes and click on new index, give an index name. Then you are good to create your index in a indexer. So which means I'm trying to create a separate folder in the index in the indexer so that, for example, if this is the index which I have created for the purpose of receiving the application data, then I'll just route all those data under this index. Okay, so this is how you can create your index. All right, now we have the index ready, and we have searched and we have indexes also ready. Now let us try to install Universal Forwarder. Okay, how to install Universal Forwarder? Now, just open Google, search Splunk Universal Forwarder download, and you will get into this Splunk official web page. If you are new to Splunk, just fill in the details, create an account. If you have already have an account, then just click on login. Then once you give your credentials, you'll be navigating to this page. And here also you can see previous releases. If you want previous releases or older version of Splunk Universal Forwarder, you can click here and you can get those the necessary Universal Forwarder version. Now, as in Splunk Enterprise, right? So in Splunk Enterprise, when we installed, it was only valid for 60 days, which means it's a 60 days trial version we had downloaded and we have installed it. But coming to Splunk Universal Forwarder, it does not require any license. So you can use this Universal Forwarder without having renewal kind of thing, because it's a very light component and it is needed and it is maintained on the application server side. So hence we don't need any license as such. And if you can see, you can also see this Splunk Universal Forwarder software for different flavors. Right. So for Linux one, you can go and download these things. But for I'm looking for Windows one. So and mine is 64-bit. Just click on download and you will be able to download the respective Splunk Universal Forwarder. So in my case, I have already downloaded. See, if you look at here, Splunk Universal Splunk Forwarder 9.0.2. This is the executable file which I have downloaded. Now let us try to install this. Just it's a simple step. Just double click on the executable file and accept the license. And if you want to customize your installation folder, you can always go ahead and do that. For me, I don't need that. Okay. Now click on next. Now you need to give your Splunk Universal Forwarder username and password. You need to set up username and password. So you can give whatever the username and password you need. So I'm just for my purpose, I'm just giving admin as a username and then I'm giving my password. Once you give username and password, click on next. Okay, this is the main part here. In our case, in a distributed environment setup, right, we have deployment server, right? Why do we need a deployment server? If you have multiple universal forwarders, if you have multiple applications and you want to read the logs from all the applications, you need to have the same number of universal forwarders. For example, if you have 10 application servers where you want to read the logs, then you need equal number of amounts, which means you need 10 number of universal forwarders needed, right? So if you want to push some configurations on all the 10 universal forwarders, then you need a deployment server. In our case, we are having only one universal forwarder, and for this, in this case, we don't need a deployment server. Of course, if in distributed environment, if you are setting up this kind of setup, then you need to mention deployment server IP address or host name, and you need to give the Splunk management port 8088. You understand this one? As of now, I don't need to set up deployment server because I'm having only one universal forwarder. So I'm just leaving this as blank. And later point of time with the see, this is just an inflection step, and you are giving these options, these information via GUI. But later, if you have such requirement to have deployment server, so you don't have to worry. You can just getting into some configurations and you can configure deployment server as well. We'll see them. No, these steps. So in my case, for now, I don't have any. I don't have multiple universal forwarders. Hence, I'm not configuring deployment server. Click on next. Now, again, this is the receiving indexer. This is the place where you are going to establish a connection between universal forwarder to indexer, right? So you have the data which is generated in the universal forwarder, and that those data needs to be sent to indexer. See, this is the way where you can establish a connection between universal forwarder and indexer, because universal forwarder should know where to send the data. Correct. So in that case, we need to make familiar to our universal forwarder. Hey, universal forwarder, send the data whatever which I'm configuring to this particular indexer over the port 997. We already know, right? So all the indexers are listening to 997 port only. Now, how to configure this one? So either I can get into, as I've configured my indexer in on the same machine, we can just open a command prompt, just type host name. Right? So this is my host name. Or you can also give IP. If you can just, if you want to give IP address, you can give IP address as well. So in my case, what is my IP address? It's 192.168.29.45. Okay, and this is the IP I've given, and this will be my default indexing port. Right, and once that is done, click on next, click on install. It's a simple step, right? So probably take some time. Once the setup is done, then we'll be able to see a final state. Your Splunk Universal Forwarder setup is done. Okay, so basically we just set it up this one. So we set up search head on the same machine. So how did we set up? Just setting and come to distribute search. So with these options, we are able to set up our Splunk Search. And as we know, if you want to set up our indexer, then we need to configure receiving port on this machine. So how did we do that? In the receive section, okay, in the receive data section, we have configure receive. Just click on add and give the port number. So by that we are considering that machine as a Splunk indexer. Now, with this setup, I think once we are done with this, we'll have this setup, so which means we have a search head, we have an indexer, and also we have a universal forwarder ready. So in the next session, we'll be ingesting the data via universal forwarder, and also we'll try to ingest the data right away. So that those options we'll see. I think we are good. It will take some time, but once that is done, it will just give me a finish button here. So by that point of time, my universal forwarders will be installed properly. So how to check that? Just come to Splunk folder. See, you can see a new uh, folder which is created 1 minute before. This is the universal forwarder. Okay. If you go to Splunk, right? If you go to Splunk, and if you go to Splunk Universal Forwarders, the folder structures within these folders almost same, right? So even if you open Splunk and Splunk Universal Forwarder, most of the configurations or most of the structure of this folder success. So that's the reason please be careful while starting and stopping your install. Okay, fine. Now Universal Forwarder was successfully installed. Click on finish. Okay. Now we have a Splunk Enterprise set up on search head. Right? We have set up this search head as well as we have set up indexer, and on the same machine we have insert Universal Forwarder. Okay, just to show the folder structure. It is taking something, but we'll discuss the folder structures and hierarchy and everything. Yeah? So that's all I had for today. In the next session, we'll be discussing on data onboarding. We'll see that. Thank you.